what is something that you've in your fathering of James, what is something that you did or said, and then afterwards you're like, oh my gosh, that's dad?
Ooh, I feel like all my nicknames for him, like all those like little, pop pops, kind of thing, like all those little things, dude. I immediately kind of think of my dad. The big one, which I don't know if you still do this, but my son, he absolutely loves trains, absolutely loves San Francisco, absolutely loves tunnels.
Okay.
Anytime we come into the city,
oh dude,
and we go into the ooh, just start singing this vibrato now, because that's what my dad would do every time we go through a tunnel, right? Always kind of that same pitch, always that kind of vibrato kind of thing. And it's really funny because if you have been around my dad, you would think, and the way we're sharing it too, he seems very serious.
Yeah.
He is like, once you get to know him and warm him up, he is the biggest goofball like ever.
Yeah.
And so that's just like one of those things that's just like, it just totally reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have to do it. I have to do it like that. So.
Yeah. As I always say, you might hear my kids, but it's okay. Dude, I cannot go through that tunnel without thinking about dad doing that. Like making it, like my dad would roll down the window and just like make, like he wouldn't yell, but he'd be like, ah, and the goal was to do it all the way through the tunnel without having to take a breath.
Yes.
I'm gonna share this one story and then I want to move on. But my dad's, he's funny, dude.
Yeah, he is. He's really
funny. One of the things he did, we're huge Giants fans. So one of the things he did is we were on our way to the Giants game and they were playing the Dodgers. So there's all these Dodger fans coming up, like they're walking around. We're close to the stadium, so they're walking around. My dad, we were in the car. My dad, and we're driving, and we're all in the car.
Barcadero,
yeah, getting close to the stadium. We see all these Dodger fans, and my dad, the car slows down, and we see all these Dodger fans kind of like huddled next to the street. My dad lowers a window, like no joke. He lowers a window like just down to his eyes, and he's talking to the Dodger fans. He's like, "You suck," and then he rolls it back up, and oh my god, that was like. And I told Ruthie that joke. Or not that joke, but that story, like not too long ago when we went to the Giants game. I'm like, I can't get that, because just my dad, the way he just rolled it down, and he just serious face too. My dad keeps a straight face and be like, "You suck," and then rolls it back up.
The one you're not remembering, which I think is the even funnier one, is that he reclined his seat back, and then he takes off his hat and he puts it up against the window on the corner, like barely visible, as to say, "I am a Giants fan." Kind of being like, "Dad, they can't see that. They have no idea what you're doing," kind of thing. But it was just kind of his way of supporting the team.
Yeah, right? It's his way to play into the rivalry, but it's so fun. But wholesome, but like funny,
Yeah.
So you've kind of like, as we talked about earlier, you've kind of like picked up, you see a challenge, you take it on, right? We talked about this, and so now, you are no longer a worship pastor.
Retired.
Wow, retired.
Yeah.
And so, then you come up with the idea that, hey, you know what? Because Jana's been having her photography business for a while now.
Right.
And she's pretty successful in her end. She's got a great following and great clientele. She's great. Just always, she's business minded. Like, she's awesome. She's amazing. And her pictures are obviously
great.
really great. People always compliment our family pictures and like, it's all Jana. We just show up. But walk me through now the like
transition.
I'm gonna start a business, right? Your dad,
right? Your
family's already getting income off of Jana's business.
Yep.
But now you guys as a family are gonna go. We're gonna run our own business, right? No 9 to 5, medical benefits, retirement, 401k, none of that. We're gonna go all in with what we got. Walk me through just the beginning of starting FoxDen Videography.
So it actually begins a year before I left.
Let me just preface. Let me just preface. Thank you. This by saying the reason why I want you to share this is because there's a lot of people that have great ideas.
Yeah.
But they just get overwhelmed and held back by, but what if I can't do that? What if this? What if that? Or if I do this, that means I have to give, like, so I want you to also like kind of speak into people who have these ideas, these dreams of starting their own business and maybe feel it's too late, or maybe feel like they don't have what it takes to do it, or maybe they feel just stuck. Like, so that's kind of why I want you to share your story a little bit.
Yeah. So a year before I leave the church, I'm working full-time ministry.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, you don't make a lot of money in full-time ministry.
Right.
Especially in Sonoma County.
Right.
Where I believe less than 5% of the population goes to church.
Right.
A church of any kind here in a very expensive area.
Right.
So I wasn't making a ton of money, and Jana was working a lot. She has a lot of health, conditions, pre-existing conditions, made things challenging. And so I wanted to help her. So I said, you know what? We've always talked about me doing video kind of alongside you.
Yeah.
What if we just, gave it a run?
Right.
And at first she was like, are you serious? Like, you really want to do this?
Yeah.
And part of me was like, well, I don't really want to do this, but, I was like, but I think I can. I want to help. I know that you're the breadwinner right now, and so I want to help. And so we gave it a year run. This was like maybe back in like November of the year before, and so we said, okay, everything that books up for next year, we're gonna add you on for video. And so we did a full year together because we didn't really know, like, where's the demand there? Do people like that?
Now, was this a year of you guys charging for the video, or was it just built in? Or
first couple it was already booked. So those that don't know, at least wedding photography or most wedding event coordinators, you're booked basically a year out.
Yeah.
So she already had her weddings for this next year, and so all the ones she had already booked, she just added me on for free. I needed to build a portfolio and kind of show what we could do, kind of thing. So so I went out, and I believe I used the church's camera equipment for the first couple of weddings, because I'm not trying to invest any money in something when trying something out. I did talk with them. We talked about a rental fee. I paid, so we're clear water here. Okay, I didn't take anything.
Scandal.
Scandal of the control.
Eli was using the cameras.
Yeah. It's not gonna be online, right?
Yeah.
But so we give it a year, and people like it. People like the fact that we're husband and wife, that we know each other, and that we work well together. And so at that point, when I had finished that year, I was feeling time to kind of transition out of the church. I felt as though, it just like things just weren't gelling really much anymore, and kind of a difference of direction. And so my greatest fear, because one thing that held me back from even, doing it for that 1 year was that I would really dislike for us to have all of our eggs in one basket, right? Like, cool, we could be very profitable, if we do weddings together, but what happens July through March?
Yeah.
What happens, November, October through December,
right?
Like all that winter season, like we would be stuck, kind of thing. But one thing I learned in COVID, and one thing I learned, especially now having a son, was I couldn't go back to an 8 to 5. James was 3 at the time. It happened so fast, like growing up happened so fast, and I didn't want to miss any of it, at all.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let's give it a run. But I said, I want to do something else as well.
Right. Yeah.
So that's when I said, okay, we've got a wedding business. What if I start a business that works mainly with business and corporate clients?
Yeah.
And so when we originally started, I was doing, branding videos, social media, weddings, event videography, just kind of a whole list of things. And I booked one wedding under FoxDen when I then realized, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, we have a very established, solid brand in Jana photography.
Yeah.
Why would I promote myself to do video?
Yeah.
Like, why would I do that? So I said, okay, you know what? This is now solely going to be corporate. And it's going to be corporate photo and video. And so the thought process of this was that if we get any type of proposal, wedding, couple session, photo or video, it all happens under Jana's brand, Jana Photography. If we get any type of branding photos, branding video, social media, interview, that goes through FoxDen. And then we just hire each other out depending on what we need. So if I need a photographer for corporate stuff, I call Jana. It's all under FoxDen.
Yeah.
If a wedding comes to me, I send it right over to Jana, and we do it that way. So it keeps things kind of very clean. It keeps our businesses very focused on what they're to do, and then it helps us to kind of niche down. So for anyone kind of having that initial fear, no, you're not crazy, because it is. It was scary, because while I wasn't making a lot, in ministry, like when I started my own business, I have to pay more taxes immediately, more than I was paying as a W-2. Health insurance,
right?
Which for us, with my wife's pre-existing condition, is over $1,200 a month. So that's a new bill on top of all that. And then, just like in your business, and especially in this business, sometimes you work, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. And
so we learned really quickly. When I came on in March of 2022, 21, I can't remember, but we were slammed with weddings. And when everything's like happening and it's booming, dude, you're just spending cash because it's all there, right? It's summertime. You got tons of weddings. We were coming out of the COVID area, so like our 2022 was packed.
Yeah.
So like we felt like secure. But the problem was, while I was focusing on that business, I decided to wait until all my weddings were done before jumping onto the next one. And the problem was that I started doing that in November for corporate, and I learned very quickly that no one, like, Christmas budget's already set. Their budget for the year is done.
Yeah.
So we're coming into November, December. Got no weddings.
Yeah.
Couple of shoots, but no corporate stuff. And I got no other set of income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So, January, I come on January. Okay, maybe people back in the office. People don't come back in the office till like February, dude. Like, especially big businesses, mid-February. Yeah. Maybe March before they start talking about the next quarter.
Right.
So, there were weeks where we survived on our miracle potatoes. We had a garden that's out there, and we would pick dry like groceries on the credit card, like struggling. Like, how are we going to do this? And all of a sudden, oh, hey, there's a couple potatoes in here, and that was dinner. Yeah. Like, cool. Like, our miracle potatoes, where were they? And so for us, it was very humbling to kind of learn for that. But, like, at the same time too, that was like a really important lesson for me to learn. And so a lot of this is just kind of learning kind of like on the fly. Always be as prepared as you can be. Yeah. And as you say, like for me, like I, especially coming out of worship, like I became very like engineer-like and very organized-like. Granted, physically, I'm a very messy person, but digitally, I'm a very organized person. Yeah. And so I tried to kind of, evaluate what project kind of thing, but I had no projections. And so a lot of that was just like faith that like God was going to pull me through. Right. You know what I mean? Like that God math. Like, yeah. I don't necessarily know how bills got paid because I didn't have that money coming in, but somehow I did. Right. And so, yeah, for me, like, especially just kind of that learning is like, hey, like, I really want to make a decision. Like, obviously I want to use wisdom on can we be successful in doing that, and then like be like, okay, just like trusting and hustling and working,
Yeah.
doing, cold drop-ins, businesses, and introducing myself. I mean, over a given week, I'd do like 15 to 30 of them, different businesses.
Yeah.
Being gone for a couple hours and getting a lot of no's, but you only need a couple of yeses.
That's true.
So,
That's true. I think, learning how to get no's is sometimes the biggest fear people have, right? Like, I can ask, but what if they say no? It's like, well, then they say no. Yeah. But I think that's what people are afraid of, is like,
well, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Coming around through January, I was starting to feel that depression of like just constantly no's. Everything that I tried to do was not working.
Mm-hmm.
And, being a husband, being a father, being responsible for providing for your family.
Yeah.
It felt a lot.
Right.
It was very, very difficult time. And like, I'm very thankful for the friends that I had that I was able to kind of reach out to, just kind of vent and just get some encouragement and just keep going. And there were just days where it's like, you know what? I just feel like sitting in my car and not going into this business because I already know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
But, there's just that gentle push of like, keep going. You gotta keep going. So,
yeah.
I think not that like I'm in a place now where like I'm drowning in leads or anything.
Yeah.
But I've been really fortunate this last year to do some like projects that I didn't even think I could do.
Right.
Bigger projects and bigger amounts that I didn't think I was capable of doing. But part of that's just like having confidence, right? Like having confidence, sticking to your guns. Obviously, if you're desperate for work, like being flexible and negotiating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, like I wanted to be sure that like I wanted to price myself where I saw my value. And I think a big part of that was understanding where your true value is. I think too often for business owners, it's in how many hours you put in. But you have to equate for how many hours you've already put in doing that, right?
Mm.
Like if you have an Etsy store and you make, pillowcases. How long did it take you to learn how to do pillowcases?
Yeah.
How long do you do for like custom ones, or even not even custom, if they're just standard ones? How much do you value your time like calling and doing marketing and doing leads? What separates you from everyone else, kind of thing. And I think those are the things that are easy to devaluate yourself in, but they're the things that really separate you and kind of give you that confidence. And a lot of times, like, just out of the pure confidence, I talked myself into gigs that I might have been maybe too big for, but you figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you learn for the next time. So,
yeah. So you've been doing this now for roughly 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah. February will be my second year.
Okay. So this February?
Yeah. This next coming February.
Oh, wow. So it's less than 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
Wow. So like what are some of the things that make you happy that you took that step forward?
The flexibility for sure. Yeah. I mean, the fact that most of the people like most of the jobs I work on is with Jana is like awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, of course there
look at
challenges.
She's still awake.
Wow. Why are you still awake?
Who knows? It is so late and my daughter's still awake. She got put to bed.
It's because
like a good 30 minutes before this thing even started.
It's because she likes me. She likes me now.
Sorry.
Yeah, so like, being able to work with my wife and this could be a whole another podcast, working with your partner. I mean, financially and how do you carry that balance. But I always tell people, they're like, oh, so why did you start doing video? And I'd actually done a wedding video before. Yeah. And I hated it. Yeah. Hated it. I didn't know what my pricing was. I didn't want to do any branding or couples. I didn't like the process. So when I started thinking about it with Jana, I was like, well, she already has a pretty established brand. And I already love her work. Duh. Yeah. So it's like, all I got to do is just copy her work. Right. And try and like communicate and talk through what she wants just in video format instead of photo. So for me, like that excites me. Doing something that I love really excites me. Yeah. You know, I love camera. I love gear of all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So accumulating that sometimes a little too much,
Yeah.
but I love that too. I love learning new things and
Right.
applying that, and then just having the flexibility. Like, you know, like I get to take my son to school, you know, every day. I can pick him up.
Right.
You know, like on Mondays, you know, is when we have our Sabbath. Like during the week, I get to decide that.
You can
we
do
get
that,
to decide, you know, what gigs we take, which ones we don't,
Right.
you know, kind of thing. And so that flexibility, especially with like a young son, is like huge for me.
Right.
So.
And where do you see like your business kind of going?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I'm really trying to niche down on what I want to do.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is like trying different things and seeing what really resonates with you.
Yeah.
And for me, I always loved doing like outdoor shoots. One of my first shoots I got to do with FoxDen, which it's so funny because it's like I want to provide free video content to businesses, and there's always kind of like well, I'm not exactly quite sure. I'm like, you understand I'm literally going to provide you free content. Yes, it's going to benefit me because it'll go in my portfolio, but you don't have to pay for this and you can use this however you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I got to do one with this company called Napa Valley Paddle. And I said, you know, hey, you know, do you want to do this? And he's like, yeah, let's get together. He's like, I have this bioluminescence tour that's happening out in, why did I just forget it? Like Point Reyes, basically.
Okay.
Point Reyes. For those of you that don't know, bioluminescence, essentially it is this glow-in-the-dark algae that sometimes gets kind of washed into the water. And so you can literally see the water like turn this like translucent color.
Interesting.
And so he's like, oh, it'd be cool if like you came out and like filmed the experience. So
Yeah.
I got a chance to go do that, which he was like, can you film that at night? And of course, me, I was like, I could figure it out. You can't. You really can't. I mean, you would need like a very, very expensive camera to even see this, you know, kind of thing. Most of it's done in long exposure. It's a big thing. Anyways, but I was like, but if I can't, I'll just do like the experience leading up. So I shot for like an hour of people getting ready, and they're like, cool. Like, do you want to come? I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's like 10 o'clock on Point Reyes. And he got us an opportunity to sit in these this canoe that instead of like wood sides would have like this animal skin vinyl. It's very translucent itself. So the cool part is like you're kind of paddling out, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden I look down and I see all these purple bubbles just floating through the water. I'm like, oh, that's the bioluminescence. And you watch the paddle and it's coming out and you see this purple spray just kind of coming out. I'm like, this is my job right now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This is part of my job. I get to come out here in the middle of the night and see this like once, like literally there's like 2 weeks a year it happens. It's so like, it's very rare. And I got to do that for free. So I was like, dude, yes. Like this is like stuff I want to do. And then the other one I got to do was with a nonprofit organization called Hope City. And so they rebuild homes for people that have lost their homes that are little to no insurance in natural disasters. So I got a chance to go to Paradise, which was completely devastated in I believe 2018 or 2019.
Yeah.
And I got to interview one of this homeowner, did like an hour-long interview, and just being completely engrossed in the story of trauma and loss and hope, and just like sitting there, it's like, wow, like this is my job, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's really where I want it to kind of gear towards, is more towards, you know, outdoor, very heavily focused on storytelling type of deal. And so I've got to work with some really great brands. Fortunately, we're in Sonoma County. This is like farm capital. There's a lot of cool stuff that's kind of happening out here. And so my hope kind of in the future is working with, you know, like big plans for me, like working with someone like an REI, or working, you know, with a Nike would be incredible, you know, kind of thing. And so, but, you know, like I said, anyone that, you know, has that business, people won't hire you until they see what they want to see from you,
Right.
right? So, like, you can't say like, oh yeah, dude, I can do a Nike commercial. They're like, great, prove it, show me. And if you have no content that's
right.
like that, then they won't hire you for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it's like making sure and finding those kind of like steps of like, yeah, this is closer to what I want to do, and oh, this is less what I want to do. And
Right.
doing that. So
You're not doing music videos though.
no, not doing music videos. I'm sorry for anyone that has asked me. I will refer lots of people to go and do that. I just think for me, it's just not. It's ironic. People are like, "You're a musician."
Yeah,
don't you
exactly.
love
Yeah,
music videos?"
you would think like,
No.
oh, but you've been in a band. You totally get it. But
Yes,
you're like,
and
no.
I do that. If you're looking for a freelance musician, I do that too. That's kind of been the story of this year. Is like, because I have no projections for what this winter is going to be, I've taken on anything and everything. So, you know, I'll sub for an 80s cover band. I'll play keys for that event. I've done freelance, you know, sound and video with other production companies. You know, so right now it's kind of picking everything. And I've been very fortunate. I think worship ministry has kind of prepared me for that.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of different you know, opportunities and skills to use, and so having that type of flexibility definitely helps you in the workplace. But by the same time too, I know if I want to do the things that I want to do, I have to be very selective and very purposeful, not only about the work that I take, because obviously I'll take any work that kind of comes my way, at least right now, I'm not that busy, but very purposeful about what I release and what actually becomes my feed. So for anyone that's doing Instagram, you don't have to put every single one of your projects. Only put out stuff that you want to do, because
Right.
that's the stuff that people are going to hire you for.
Right.
So.
Right. And where can people follow you on Instagram?
At FoxDen Videography, I have been MIA for like.
You've been very selective.
I've been very, very selective, mainly because I what we said before, just
Yeah.
kind of the new cycle of life and trying to catch a rhythm. Just kind of coming out of wedding season, just been bonkers. So I'm hoping to do more stuff there too. But yeah, at FoxDen, if you're into our wedding brand, at Jana photography is where you can find that. And if you want to watch me post literally nothing, you can follow my personal one. Because all I will do will send you memes.
That is true.
It is my meme.
You send reels, memes,
yes.
and everything in between.
Yeah.
One last thing. Up and coming artists, creatives, like, what is one piece of advice you can give them to, you know, people looking to kind of like leave a mark with what they're doing, whether it's music or some type of videography, some type of art? Like, what is one thing you could like give them to help them get to that next step?
You know, the biggest blessing I think that you have now is it is now the easiest time to collaborate with other artists. And so, and what I mean by artists is other creatives.
Yeah.
Really make it a point to collaborate with someone that's not in your field. I think with musicians, it's pretty easy. Like, hey, do you want to like get on this track kind of thing? And like, that's kind of cool. I would say with musicians, get someone that is outside of your genre, outside of that, and collaborate, because there's so much to be learned about how people will process. Because yes, we're all creatives, but we all come at it creatively in different points of view, different perspectives.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be learned, I think, in that. But I would also say collaborate with a creative that is outside of your field as well. If you're a musician, you know, don't just collaborate with like a video person.
Right.
You know, and just say, hey, can you shoot me a video? But instead, position yourself in saying, hey, I'm a local musician. I don't know if you have any projects in which needs a musician, but I'm happy to offer my time free, which is the important part, because that's how relationships start.
Right.
You know, I want to offer my services free in case you ever need a stand-in, or if you want help within a project. I think that's the easiest way to build relationships. And, you know, one thing I've like just learned throughout my life, every job I've ever gotten has been by recommendation of somebody. I've never gotten a job through a cold application. Like, oh yeah, let me apply. It's always been through somebody like, oh, you should come work here, or oh, hey, I'm interested in working here. Can you get me in? Kind of thing. Every single one of my jobs has been that, including full-time ministry was that way too. So, the bigger your network and relationship within people, I think that benefits you. But more importantly, it's what kind of benefit can you give to somebody else? Like, because I really think it's too easy to be focused on kind of your own creative energies and what you're doing. And I think, at the end of the day, I really want to look at, how was I able to help encourage, somebody else? How was I able to help someone up further in their career? Because Lord knows there have been, hundreds of people in my life that have positioned me to be able to achieve something I normally wouldn't be able to achieve.
Yeah.
Because they gave of their time, they gave of their wisdom, they gave an opportunity, whatever it may be. So I think that's probably like the best piece of advice. And I think especially if you're young, start it now.
Yeah.
Because, and this like as a dad, the habits that you set now are the ones that will set you for the future. Mm-hmm. So if you start that habit now, especially being young, I love seeing like kids like in like junior high or high school, kind of having that hustle, like wanting to do kind of something creative. It's tough out there. I feel a lot of creatives are not paid for, it's just hard to make a living as a creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time too, I think the more that you can ingratiate yourself in that and having a good relationship with people and people having a good, healthy respect of who you are and what you bring. I think the worst thing you can do is come with a bad attitude and saying like, I'm not getting paid for this, so I'm gonna put a little effort. Like,
right. Yeah.
Everything should just really be like not only just who you're working with, but everyone. I just remember like, doing a sound gig and then someone like a DJ, needing help with something or at a wedding, DJ needs help with something. Yeah, dude, let's go. What do you need? Checking with a wedding planner. You need water or something? Like, no, I'm good. That stuff like puts you in such good graces with people because they understand like, hey, but they're here to help me too. And I think especially as like a creative or just any type of vendor, like when everyone wins, you win.
I think, I'll leave it with this. Like, I think that type of attitude, heart posture comes from, Papa, comes from our parents, right? Is the attitude of like, because if you remember when we would go out and play at different churches and mom and dad would tell us, but I know anytime we were around Papa would tell us like, serve those, like be a help, be a blessing to them, serve them, and so like that heart posture of like, now this is your business, but you still have that same heart posture where you're there to do the job you're hired to do, but like you said, you want to make sure everybody wins because you win too if that's the case. So now you're helping the DJ or you're helping this person or you're whatever. Like that stuff was instilled in us a long time ago growing up in church, which is, I think cannot be overlooked. I think a lot of times kids who grow up in church learn those things on an early age and it helps them out later on because it's more of like a team, attitude, mindset, serving other people, looking more about giving rather than taking, which we all know at the end of the day, we end up taking a lot more when we're looking to just give rather than just take, so just hearing you say that kind of reminds me like, man, that sounds a lot like Papa, Well,
like I'm glad I got to share. I remember like at the reception, after his service and stuff, I got to share. And one of the things I always remember and like that really sticks with me about him was that, he wasn't the most gifted speaker.
Right.
He wasn't the most passionate preacher.
Right.
He wasn't the most, incredible analytical mind.
Yeah.
But he was available.
Right.
And that showed itself at his service. Just seeing all the people, and like that's I think what we all hope for ourselves. Like, I think part of it is some selfishness of like I really hope that a lot of people come to like my funeral kind of thing. Like, I hope people like really bummed when I die. kind of thing. And there's always like, oh, like, I'm so upset I'll never be able to see my funeral. I'm like, gosh.
I hope people are really bummed when
I hope,
they're done.
I hope people are like really bummed. But I think, and we were there, like people would come up to us, countless stories of like how, hey, he came to pray with me.
Yeah.
Like he came, when my mom was in the hospital.
Yeah.
He came, when we just bought a new house, and he came and he dedicated the house.
Yeah, he prayed for you.
He was available. And
Right.
I think that was like the big thing. Not only just like available to call, but when he was with you, he was available.
Yeah.
Like he was invested in the time with you. It was very important. And he made you feel very important
Right.
with that. I think that was the thing that I think resonates the most with me, was just like, you don't have to be the most skilled person for the Lord to do that. I think it's often too, especially as creatives, it's too easy to be like, oh, I'll never be as good as him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know what? Probably not. Probably not. I always tell people like, wow, you're an incredible musician. I was like, you have to understand, like, co-op for the state, I sucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there were tons of incredible
Right.
musicians, still are, that are going to be way better than I am, that can sing way better than I, play better than I am. But where is your heart in that? Are you truly invested and available in that? Are you doing your part in order to, encourage and give life in the situation that you are? And are you thinking like outside of yourself? So I think that was like a big lesson that I got to learn through ministry, and especially like towards the tail end. And like I said, I feel deeply honored when someone, calls me for advice, and I tell them that I'm like, honestly, that this means a lot that you would trust me to ask for my advice. And I never want to take that, lightly. But at the same time too, like I want to make sure that like I really think and invest and make sure that I give, the best of what I have for them. So.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah. I know we can do like a whole nother part 2.
We could do a part 2. This video might be
just keep
chopped
going.
up in part 3.
Yeah. Seriously.
But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I think I'll have you come back and we can talk about some other stuff too. But if you guys are interested to look at Eli's work, maybe you're creative and want to get like into the videography business and maybe looking for some tips or just looking for inspiration. Like he doesn't post a lot, but he does have stuff on there.
That will change. He'll
upload his stuff. So make sure you check
I've
out
a lot of projects that
it's at FoxDen Videography, right?
At FoxDen Videography.
Yeah.
You can find us at www.foxdenvideography.com.
Wow, do people still say www?
Heck yeah, dude, I do. I'm sorry. HTTPS semicolon / www.
The World Wide Net.
Web. You're right there with me.
Sorry, I never used W.
Right
Sorry, I didn't know the acronym
I
for
still
that.
say www. But yeah, foxdenvideography.com if you want to shorthand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man.
This is always fun. We should do this more often outside of a camera.
Yeah. You mean have the camera on every time we hang out?
Yeah. Because then I'll feel like I can be honest with you. So then,
like it's funny because people will ask about. They'll ask about you because it's funny that there's a lot of people that know you and know me but have never seen us interact.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It's like Benny Crenshaws, Eli. I'm like, yeah, that's my brother.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like I met Eli here and there and this and that. And I'm like, yep, cool. That's my brother. I don't know what else to say.
You're either Eli's brother, Zach's brother. I'm Ben's brother or Zach's brother. Zach is Ben's brother or Eli's brother. I think, and it's always so funny because they're always very different people that never quite interact with this. But
it's just funny that people know us but have never seen us.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, you're brother of that one over there. I'm like, yeah, that's my brother over there. So, but I'm glad people get to see us on camera and interact a little bit now. So.
I exist.
You do exist.
I'm a real person.
I don't make.
I know we don't look a ton alike, but
some people say we do.
I don't quite understand that one.
I don't either.
The one I understand is the Zach one.
And Zach?
No. So I always tell people, and you know this too, like Zach looks like if me and you had a baby. Like if you and I could somehow physically procreate.
Is that true?
Oh yeah.
Babe,
most definitely. Yeah. If you put me and Ben next to each other, you might be able to see it.
We're putting a picture. I'm putting a picture of Zach up right now.
Yeah. You put Zach in the picture and then it's like Okay.
Get it?
I get it. I understand now.
I mean, I've heard people be like, "Oh, you and Zach remind me so much of each other." Like, oh well, he is my brother, so
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I picked up his vocal cues. I don't know if he got it from me or I got it from him, but we sound a lot alike now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Maybe he picked it up from you.
Probably.
He wants to be cool like
Shout
you.
out to Zach for sure. Peace and love.
Yeah, doing sound at the father's house.
Doing sound at the father's house.
A beast.
Yeah. I tell him this all the time too. And I wanted to say this to anyone that has a younger sibling. Love and appreciate them. I know it's a serious, I want to take a serious turn here because, you know, in the same way, I think, you know, when he was younger, he was kind of that younger, annoying brother, but he's grown up to be like a really great guy, you know? And I think as we've gotten older, we've gotten to have a really cool relationship.
Why are you laughing, Ruthie?
Because I can't take it seriously, but anyways, if you have a younger sibling, especially if you guys are within your teenage years, like really embrace that, man, because I think this is the cool relationship now, like as adults. Yeah. Like being like siblings.
Well, I mean, again, this podcast can go on for another 5 hours, but seriously, me and Zach's relationship is better now than it was when we were growing up. Yeah. You know? And then since we're going to shout out Zach, we might as well shout out Narcy too, who's got her own salon here in town.
Yeah, dude.
Killing it. Girl doesn't need to work 40 hours a week. Make her own. And same thing, she's doing her own business, you know, like, which is really cool to see my younger siblings. Like, I'm like, oh, cool. Well, at least somebody got it right, you know.
Can't keep working for the man.
I'm a slave to the man. I gotta work my 9 to 5. Yeah. Well, dude, thanks for coming on the podcast. You guys, please check out his stuff. We'll bring him back on again. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, peace out.
This is the Chop Shop.